Good afternoon. Today we are going to be reading chapter 27 of Dracula, the final chapter, the end. We're finishing it tonight. But we're not just going to be reading the words, we're going to stop and talk about interesting vocabulary words as we go. So if you're watching this with us right now live, you can ask questions in the chat. What does this mean? What does that mean? That's the whole purpose of this, to talk about and gain a better understanding of English through reading a book. And also, when we're finished, people have been joining us on Discord. They've been coming into the video. The video keeps running. And then we practice some of the interesting vocabulary words that we've talked about, with a focus on pronunciation, intonation, and accentuation. And these are the things that can help you to gain a better understanding of spoken English, but also improve your accent. So if you want to improve your accent, then when the video is finished, don't go away, because we'll probably be practicing with some volunteers on Discord. And if you would like to volunteer, then all you have to do is click on the link in the description, join the Discord group, and you can volunteer as well. The first two people who write in Discord when the video starts, "I volunteer," are the two people that we will use for practice. We've already got Alex and Pachu here today. Hello, Alex. Hello, Pachu. Let's see. We've got questions. I think Pachu is making some comprehension questions. Let's see. Okay, well, let's get started with the final chapter of Dracula. Chapter 27, Mina Harker's Journal. 1st of November. All day long we've traveled, and at a good speed. The horses seem to know that they're being kindly treated, for they go willingly, their full stage at best speed. We have now had so many changes and find the same thing so constantly that we are encouraged to think that the journey will be an easy one. Dr. Helsing is laconic. That's a word that we keep finding, but I don't think it's a very common word, but we've seen it several times, I think, in more than one book. Laconic. I didn't know what that word was until recently. That means saying everything in very few words. Not talking very much. Being quiet. Dr. Helsing is laconic. He tells the farmers that he's hurrying to Bistritz and pays them well to make the exchange of horses. We get hot soup or coffee or tea, and off we go. We've talked about using the word off to mean leaving. So if you run off, that means you leave a place running. If you walk off, you leave a place walking. And to be off means to be ready to leave. And here we have off we go. So we're leaving this place. We're going on a journey. We're starting somewhere. Starting for a new place. It is a lovely country full of beauties of all imaginable kinds, and the people are brave and strong and simple and seem full of nice qualities. They're very, very superstitious. In the first house where we stopped, when the woman who served us saw the scar on my forehead, she crossed herself and put out 2 fingers towards me to keep off the evil eye. I believe they went to the trouble of putting an extra amount of garlic into our food, and I can't abide garlic. To abide something means that you can't tolerate it. Ever since then, I had taken care not to take off my hat or veil, so have escaped their suspicions. We're traveling fast, as we've no driver with us to carry tales. we go ahead of scandal. But I dare say that fear of the evil eye will follow hard behind us all the way. The professor seems tireless. All day he would not take any rest, though he made me sleep for a long spell. We've talked about the word spell meaning a period of time. At sunset time he hypnotized me, and he says, I answered as usual, darkness, lapping water, and creaking wood. So lapping water, when water is moving, but it's moving very softly or slowly, that sound is lapping. It's a very calm sound. And creaking is like an old door. You open an old door, it creaks. So our enemy is still on the river. I'm afraid to think of Jonathan, but somehow I have now no fear for him or myself, or for myself. I'm afraid to think of Jonathan, but somehow I have now no fear for him, or for myself. I write this whilst we wait in a farmhouse for the horses to be ready. Dr. Van Helsing is sleeping. Poor dear, he looks very tired and old and gray, but his mouth is set as firmly as a conqueror's. Even in his sleep, he is intense with resolution. When we've well started, I must make him rest whilst I drive. I shall tell him that we have days before us, and he must not break down when most of all of his strength will be needed. All is ready. We are off shortly. So there we have the word off again, meaning leaving. 2nd of November morning, I was successful. 2nd November morning, I was successful, and we took turns driving all night. Now the day is on us, bright, though cold. There's a strange heaviness in the air. I say heaviness for want of a better word. I mean that it oppresses us both. It's very cold, and our warm furs keep us comfortable. At dawn, Van Helsing hypnotized me. He says I answer darkness, creaking wood, and roaring water. So roaring, that's the sound that a lion makes. Roar. So roaring water is sort of the opposite of the lapping water. The lapping water was very calm and relaxing, but roaring water sounds like there's a lot of movement of water making the sound of a lion. So the river is changing as they ascend. Ascend means go up. I do hope that my darling will not run any chance of danger, more than need be, but we are in God's hands. 2nd of November night, all day long driving. The country gets wilder as we go, and the great spurs of the Carpathians, which at Varisti seem so far from us, and so low on the horizon, now seem to gather round us and tower in front. So we've talked about using the word tower as a verb. A tower, you know, is a tall building. But when one thing towers above other things, it means it's so big it makes everything else look small. So she's saying a long time ago, as they were very far away, the mountains seem very low. But now they seem to be towering all around us. They're so tall around us, we feel very small. Okay, if you want to volunteer today, don't forget to write something in the Discord server, because remember, it's the first two in the Discord server who volunteer that we have to go by. Nobody's volunteered yet, but I've already seen Alex and Pachu here. I think we make an effort, each to cheer the other. In doing so, we cheer ourselves. Dr. Van Helsing says that by morning we shall reach the Borgo Pass. The houses are very few here now, and the professor says that the last horse we got will have to go on with us, as we may not be able to change. He got 2 in addition to the 2 we changed, so that now we have a rude 4 in hand. The dear horses are patient and good, and they give us no trouble. We're not worried with other travelers, and so even I can drive. We shall get to the pass in daylight. We do not want to arrive before, so we take it easy, and we have each a long rest in turn. Oh, what will tomorrow bring to us? We go to seek the place where my poor darling suffered so much. God grant that we may be guided aright, and that he will deign to watch over my husband and those dear to us, and who are in such deadly peril. As for me, I'm not worthy in his sight. Alas, I am unclean to his eyes, and shall be, until he may deign to let me stand forth in his sight as one of those who have not incurred his wrath. Memorandum by Abraham Van Helsing, 4th of November. This to my old and true friend John Seward, M.D., of Purfleet, London. In case I may not see him, it may explain it is morning, and I write by a fire which all the night I have kept alive, Madam Mina aiding me. It is cold, cold, so cold that the grey heavy sky is full of snow, which when it falls will settle for all winter as the ground is hardening to receive it. It seems to have affected Madam Mina. She has been so heavy of head all day that she was not like herself. She sleeps and sleeps and sleeps. So she is usual, she who is usual so alert, have done literally nothing all day. She even have lost her appetite. She make no entry into her little diary. She who writes so faithful at every pause. Something whisper to me that all is not well. However, tonight she is more vif. What is that? Vif. I don't think that's an English word. It's even in italics. Well, ChatGPT seems to think it's a variation of vivid, like full of life, having a lot of energy. I guess that makes sense here. Oh, actually, it says it's from French, and it does mean lively, vivid, or energetic, but it's extremely uncommon to use it in English. Her long sleep all day have refresh and restore her, for now she's all sweet and bright as ever. At sunset I tried to hypnotize her, but alas, with no effect. The power has grown less and less with each day, and tonight it failed me altogether. Well, God's will be done, whatever it may be, and whithersoever it may lead. Now to the historical, for as Madam Mina write not in her stenography, I must in my cumbrous old-fashioned, and so each day of us may not go unrecorded. We got to the Borgo Pass just after sunrise yesterday morning. When I saw the signs of the dawn, I got ready for the hypnotism. We stopped our carriage and got down so there might be no disturbance. I made a couch with furs, and Madam Mina, lying down, yielded herself as usual, but more slow and more short time than ever to the hypnotic sleep, as before came the answer. Darkness and the swirling of water. Then she spoke, bright and radiant, and we go on our way, and soon reach the pass. At this time and place, she become all full, all she become all on fire with zeal. And so far, we haven't come across any vocabulary words. Maybe I'll put zeal, just because. I need 4 words. Zeal means great energy, enthusiasm, or passion in pursuit of a cause, goal, or activity. Some new guiding power in her be manifested, for she point a road and say, "This is the way." "How you know it?" I ask. "Of course I know it," she answer, with a pause, added, "Have not my Jonathan travelled it, and wrote of his travel?" At first I think somewhat strange, but soon I see there be only one such by-road. I use it. It is used but little, and very different from the coach road from Bukovina to Bistritz, which is more wide and hard, and more of use. So we came down this road. When we meet other ways, not always were we sure that there were roads at all, for they be neglect, and light snow have fallen. The horses know, and they only. I give rein to them. So remember, the way that you control a horse is with the reins. So he says, I give the reins to the horses. I let the horses say where to go, because I don't know where to go. I give rein to them, and they go on so patient. By and by we find all the things which Jonathan have note in that wonderful diary of him. Then we go on for long, long hours and hours. At first I tell Madam Mina to sleep. She try, and she succeeded. She sleep all the time, till at the last I feel myself suspicious to grow, and attempt to wake her. But she sleep on. So now we've seen, that word on means continue, walk on, continue walking, talk on, continue talking. And now we have sleep on, continue sleeping. And I may not wake her, though I try. I do not wish to try too hard, lest I harm her. There's the word lest again. Remember, that's a signal that you put in front of a phrase that means, I don't want this to happen. I'm afraid this will happen. So lest I harm her. I'm afraid of harming her. So I don't try to wake her up. I don't want to harm her. I'm afraid of harming her. Lest I harm her. For I know that she have suffer much, and sleep at times be all in all to her. I think I drowse myself. Maybe we'll use the word drowsy today. To drowse, to feel drowsy means to be very tired, or not, well, to be a little tired, to want to go to sleep. I think I drowse myself, for all of the sudden I feel guilt, as though I have done something. I find myself bolt up, with the reins in my hand, and the good horses go along, jog, jog, just as ever. I look down, and find Madam Mina still asleep. It is now not far off sunset time, and over the snow the light of the sun flow in big yellow flood, so that we throw great long shadow on where the mountain rise so steep, for we are going up, and all is oh so wild and rocky, as though it were the end of the world. Pachu says, how does Dracula die? I don't know. we're about to find out. That's what they're going to. They're trying to kill him. We'll find out in about, let's see, in about 10 or 15 pages. I don't even remember in the movie. I thought in the movie they didn't. I thought they stayed in England the whole time. So, but maybe I just haven't seen that movie in such a long time. I don't remember. Then I arouse Madam Mina. This time she wake with not much trouble. And then I try to put her to the hypnotic sleep, but she sleep not. Being as though I were not, still I try and try, till all at once I find her and myself in dark. So I look round, and find that the sun have gone down. Madam Mina laugh, and I turn and look at her, and she is now quite awake, and looks so well as I never saw her since that night at Carfax, when we first enter the Count's house. I am amazed, and not at ease then, but she is so bright and tender and thoughtful for me that I forget all fear. I light a fire, for we have brought supply of wood with us, and she prepare food, while I undo the horses and set them, tethered, in shelter, to feed. Then, when I return to the fire, she have my supper ready. I go to help her, but she smile, and tell me that she have eat already, that she was so hungry that she would not wait. I like it not. Pachu, you've written the phrase hypnotic sleep. Are you asking what that means, or are you just making a note? But I fear I fear to affright her. And so I'm silent of it, and she helped me, and I eat alone, and then we wrap in fur. So Pachu wants to know about the idea of a hypnotic sleep. Well, remember that hypnotism is like trying to move past the ego, right? The conscious brain. So, imagine all of the things that you have in your head that maybe you don't even know. It's kind of like accessing the mind. We call it the unconscious mind. You have your conscious mind that can see everything, the room, the light, the words on the page. And then you have your unconscious mind always working in the back, always remembering and seeing everything, not just the words or the room. And so if you want to access the unconscious mind, maybe you could go to a hypnotist who is supposed to be very skilled at moving past your conscious mind into your conscious. And then it can ask you he can ask you questions that maybe normally you wouldn't know the answer to. Does that make sense? This is usually called a trance, Trance, a hypnotic trance. But they've already used that word, I think, many times. So they're calling it a hypnotic sleep. So he's trying to put her in that state, however he does it. And each day, as they get closer to Dracula's castle, that he's able to put her in the hypnotic sleep or the hypnotic trance, but only for a few seconds. And then she can see into the mind of Dracula. And all she could hear was water and the creaking of the boat. But now, this last time, today, the day that we're talking about, he was not able to put her into the hypnotic trance, the hypnotic sleep. And she's acting strange. Suddenly she has a lot of energy. He can't put her in the hypnotic sleep. And he's starting to feel very uncomfortable about this. because some kind of change is happening to her. And he offered her food, and she said, "No, thank you. I've already eaten." What did she eat, I wonder? "I like it not, and I have grave doubts, but I fear to affright her, and so I am silent. She helped me, and I eat alone, and when we wrap in fur and lie beside the fire, and I tell her to sleep while I watch. But presently I forget all of watching, and when I suddenly remember that I watch, I find her lying quiet, but awake, and looking at me with so bright eyes. Once, twice more the same occur, and I get much sleep before morning. When I wake, I try to hypnotize her, but alas, though she shut her eyes obedient, she may not sleep. The sun is rise up, and up, and up, and then sleep come to her too late, but so heavy that she will not wake. I have to lift her up. So she's now becoming more like Dracula again. She can't sleep at night, and she must sleep very heavily during the day. I have to lift her up and place her sleeping in the carriage. When I have harnessed the horses and made all ready, Madam still sleep, and she look in her sleep more healthy and more redder than before, and I like it not, and I'm afraid, afraid, afraid. I'm afraid of all the things even to think, but I must go on my way. The stake we play for is life and death, or more than these, and we must not flinch. So flinching is when you're afraid somebody's going to hit you. We must not flinch. So they have to be brave. Patch is asking about the word harness. Was that? I didn't see that word, harness. Okay, it's literal here. But maybe we'll use harness as a vocabulary word today. That's a good vocabulary word. Let me show. This is a horse harness. So they're using it in a very literal way here. A harness is all of the things that you attach to an animal. So imagine if you attach all of these things to the animal, now you can control the animal. So any kind of thing that you use to control an animal like that. Say I put horse harness, but if we just put harness, oh no, we get weird things. Oh God. Never mind. Oh boy. Okay. Let's go back. November 5th. Morning. Let me be accurate in everything, for though you and I have seen some strange things together, you may at first think that I, Van Helsing, am mad, but that many horrors and the so long strain on our nerves has at last turned my brain. All yesterday we travel, always getting closer to the mountains, and moving into a more and more wild and desert land. There are great, frowning precipices and much falling water, and nature seemed to have held some time her carnival. Madam Mina still sleep and sleep, and though I did have hunger and appeased it, I could not waken her, even for food. I began to fear that the fatal spell of the place was upon her. Fatal means something that will kill you. And spell, now we've talked about spell meaning a period of time, but this is spell meaning magic. Let's say it means magic. So the fatal magic, the magic that will kill her, of the place was upon her. Tainted as she is with that vampire baptism, well, said I to myself, if it be that she sleep all day, it shall also be that I do not sleep at night. As we travel on the rough road, for a road of ancient and imperfect kind there was, I held down my head and slept. Pachi is asking about frowning precipices. Well, precipice just means like an edge. Let's see. These are precipices. It's like the edge of something. And frowning is the opposite of a smile. Smile, frown. So frowning precipices, I guess you could imagine edges shaped like a frown. Hold down is a phrasal. Pachi is asking about the word hold down. Hold down is a phrasal verb, but it's very literal here. I held my head down. That means he pointed his head down, like maybe he was sad or disappointed or tired. What did he say? As we travel the rough road, for a road of an ancient and imperfect kind there was, I held down my head and slept. So he was sleeping like this, sitting. Again I waked with the sense of guilt and of time past, and found Madam Mina sleeping, and the sun was low down. But all was indeed changed. The frowning mountains seemed further away, and we were near the top of a steep, rising hill. We've talked about the word steep before. Imagine a hill like this. Oh, let's see. Oh, I've got the. It's confusing. I have to flip. I've got like the mirror image, so I'm getting confused. Wait, I'm just going to find a picture. I'm too confused. Pachi says, what? Well, back in England, Pachi says, what happened to Mina? Back in England, the Count took blood from her. And I don't know if you know about vampires, but when a vampire does that, it starts a process where you turn into something like the vampire. And over time, so this is what's happening to Mina very slowly. She's becoming like Dracula. And once she makes the complete transition, she will be like his slave. So it's important to kill Dracula before she completely changes into this monster very similar to Dracula. So let's just look at the difference between steep and I don't know. I wouldn't say that flat is the opposite of steep, but I guess it's close enough. So you can see the blue line is steep, and then the red line, it's almost flat. So if you talk about steep mountains, they're not mountains that go like this. They're mountains that almost go up and down. The frowning mountains seemed further away, as we were near the top of a steep rising hill, on summit of which was such a castle as Jonathan telleth in his diary. At once I exulted and feared, for now, for good or ill, the end was near. I woke Madam Mina, and again tried to hypnotize her, but alas, unavailing. If something is to no avail, that means you try it, but it doesn't work. So I tried to hypnotize her, but it didn't work. Unavailing till too late. Then ere the great dark came upon us, for even after down sun the heavens reflected the gone sun on the snow, and all was for a time in a great twilight. I took out the horses and fed them in what shelter I could, and then I make a fire, and near it I make Madam Mina, now awake and more charming than ever, sit comfortable amid her rugs. I got ready food, and she would not eat, simply saying that she had not hunger. I did not press her, knowing her unavailingness. But I myself eat, for I must needs now be strong for all. Then, with the fear on me of what might be, I drew a ring so big for her comfort round where Madam Mina sat. And over the ring I passed some of the wafer, and I broke it fine, so that all was well guarded, and she sat still all the time, so still as one was dead, and she grew whiter and even whiter, till the snow was not more pale. And no word she said. But when I drew, she clung to me, and I could know that the poor soul shook from her head to her feet with a tremor that was pain to feel. Pacha's writing unavailing. Boy, think about the word available. Like accessible versus unaccessible. But let's get a better definition. Avail. Something that's useful. To avail means something useful or helpful. That's as a verb, but as a noun, it means help, benefit, or advantage. So unavail means like not helpful. And she grew whiter and even whiter till the snow was not more pale, and no word she said, but when I drew near, she clung to me. Pachu says, unavail, not helpful. Yeah, but usually what you would say is to no avail. I tried contacting Pachu, but to no avail. That means it didn't work. That's usually how it's used. But when I drew near, she clung to me, and I could know that the poor soul shook from her head to her feet with a tremor that was a pain to feel. Pachu says no avail. Usually you use the preposition to no avail. I said to her presently, when she had grown more quiet, will you not come over to the fire? For I wish to make a test of what she could. She rose, obedient, but when she have made a step, she stopped, and stood as one stricken. That means afraid. So she stood like she was afraid. Why not go on? I asked. She shook her head, so that means she said no with her head, and coming back, sat down in her place, and then looking at me with open eyes, as one waked from sleep, she said simply, I cannot. And remained silent. I rejoiced, for I knew what she could not, none of those that we dreaded could. Though there might be a danger to her body, yet her soul was safe. So the Professor Van Helsing put some holy wafers in a circle around the fire or near him, and then he invited her to come over to test her, and she couldn't pass the circle. I don't know why that makes him happy, but that's what happened. Presently the horses began to scream and tore at their tethers, till I came to them and quieted them. And when they did feel my hands on them, they whinnied. That's that's a whinny. They whinnied low as in joy, and licked at my hands, and were quiet for a time. Many times through the night did I come to them, till it arrived to the cold hour when all the nature is at its lowest, and every time my coming was with quiet of them. At the cold hour the fire began to die, and I was about stepping forward to replenish it. To replenish something means to refill something, give it more, feed it more. For now the snow came in flying sweeps, and with it a chill mist. Even in the dark there was a light of some kind, as there ever is over snow, and it seemed as though the snow flurries and the wreaths of mist took shape as of women with trailing garments. All was in dead, grim silence, only that the horses whinnied and cowered. Cowering is like being afraid to be hit. So the horses, or also they cowered. They were afraid of something out there. As if in the terror of the worst. And I began to fear horrible fears. But then came to me the sense of safety in that ring wherein I stood. Oh, so maybe the reason he was rejoicing is because it worked. Nobody could enter that circle that he made. Well, nobody bad. I began to think that my imaginings were of the night and the gloom and the unrest that I have gone through and all the terrible anxiety. Pachu says, what's the difference between horrible and terrible? To me, they mean the same thing, but I'm sure there probably is a small difference. Let's ask ChatGPT. I don't really think there's a big difference. ChatGPT says there's a small difference, and it goes into a very long explanation, but I don't think it matters, really. I mean, if it takes that much time to try to explain the difference, then they're probably really, the difference is so small that it doesn't really matter too much. All was in dead grim silence, only that the horses whinnied and cowered, as if in terror for the worst. I began to fear horrible fears, but then came to me the sense of safety in that ring wherein I stood. I began to think that my imaginings were of the night, and the gloom and the unrest that I have gone through, and all the terrible anxiety. It was as though my memories of all of Jonathan's horrid experience were befooling me, for the snowflakes and the mist began to wheel and circle around, till I could get as though a shadowy glimpse of those women that would have kissed him. And then the horses cowered lower and lower, and moaned in terror as men do in pain. Even the madness of fright was not to them, so they could break away. I fear for my dear Madam Mina with these weird figures, when these weird figures drew near. Patch is asking about the word moaning. That's like, that's moaning. Oh, I'm just going to take a 1 minute break. I'll be right back. Let's see if I can find my how to switch over. Okay, here we go. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, I'm back. All right, let's continue. The weird figures drew near and circled round. I looked at her, but she sat calm and smiled at me. When I would have stepped to the fire to replenish it, she caught me and held me back and whispered, like a voice that one hears in a dream, so low it was. No, no, do not go without. Here you are safe. So she's telling him, don't step out of your circle, your magic circle that you made. I turned to her looking, and looking in her eyes said, but you, it is for you that I fear. Whereat she laughed, and laughed low and unreal, and said, fear for me? Why fear for me? None safer in all the world from them than I am. And as I wondered at the meaning of her words, a puff of wind, puff is like this, a puff of wind made the flame leap up, and I see the red scar on her forehead, and then, alas, I knew, did I not? I would soon have learned, for the wheeling figures of mist and snow came closer, but keeping ever without the holy circle. And they began to materialize till, if God have not taken away my reason, for I saw it through my eyes, there were before me in actual flesh the same 3 women that Jonathan saw in the room when they would have kissed his throat. I knew the swaying round forms, the bright hard eyes, the white teeth, the ruddy color, the voluptuous lips. Voluptuous kind of means with a good shape, but it has sort of the idea of like sexy. But let's ask ChatGPT. Voluptuous sort of means round and sexy. Voluptuous. voluptuous. Let's see how close my definition is. Refers to someone, typically a woman, who has a shapely, full-figured body, often with a focus on sensual or sexual appeal. But here they're talking, and there are words like curvaceous, full-figured, sensual. But here they're just talking about the lips, so maybe sexy lips would be another way to say that. But the idea of voluptuous is that it's a very round, it's a very nice shape. They smiled over at poor dear Mina, and their laugh came through the silence of the night. They twined their arms and pointed to her, and said in those so sweet, tingling tones that Jonathan said were of the intolerable sweetness of the water glasses, "Come, sister, come to us, come." In turn I turned to my poor Madam Mina, and my heart with gladness leapt like a flame, for oh, the terror in her sweet eyes, the repulsion. Repulsion is when you move away from something because it's disgusting. Ugh. The repulsion, the horror, told a story to my heart that was all of hope. God be thanked, she was not yet of them. I seized some of the firewood. Seize means take. I seized some of the firewood which was by me, and holding out some of the wafer, advanced on them towards the fire. They drew back before me and laughed their low, horrid laugh. I fed the fire and feared them not, for I knew that we were safe within the ring, which she could not leave no more than they could enter. So it seems like, I guess Mina is also in the magic circle. So she can stay in there, she's protected, she can't leave, and those ghost ladies can't enter. The horses had ceased to moan, and lay still on the ground. The snow fell on them softly, and they grew whiter. I knew that there was, for the poor beasts, no more of terror. And so we remained, till the red of dawn began to fall through the snow. Gloom. Pythonicness says, "Good night, everyone." Good evening. Well, Pythonicness is easier to say Antonio Montana. But if you say good night, if you say good evening, that's like saying hello. But if you say good night, that's like that's what you say when you're leaving, when you're going to bed. So it's confusing if you say good evening, good night, because one means hello and one means goodbye. So are you saying hello, good evening, or are you saying goodbye, good night? It's very important. But when that beautiful sun began to climb the horizon, life was to me again. At the first coming of the dawn, the horror figures melted in a whirling mist and snow. The wreaths of transparent gloom moved away towards the castle, and were lost. Instinctively, with the dawn coming, I turned to Madam Mina, intending to hypnotize her, but she lay in a deep and sudden sleep from which I could not wake her. I tried to hypnotize through her sleep, but she made no response, none at all, and the day broke. I fear yet to stir. I have made my fire and have seen the horses, and they're all dead. And today I have much to do here, and I keep waiting till the sun is up high, for there may be places where I must go, where the sunlight, though snow and mist obscure it, will be to me a safety. Oh, Pythonicness says both because I'm about to go to bed. I just joined to the stream and will sleep while the stream is open. Okay, well, hello and good night. I will strengthen me with breakfast, and then I will do my terrible work. Madam Mina still sleeps. God be thanked, she is calm in her sleep. Jonathan Harker's journal, 4th of November, evening. The accident to the launch has been a terrible thing for us. Oh, for it would it only for it we what only for it we should have overtaken the boat long ago, and by now my dear Mina would have been free. I feared to think of her off on the worlds near the horrid place. Off on the wolds? Is that a word? Wolds? Or is that a misprint? Wolds. Oh, it's a real word. I've never seen that before. But you know, there are, like in England, there are places with that makes sense because there are place names, like names of towns, where you'll see Wolds, Wolds, as the final part, the final name of a town or something. And it says that Wolds refers to open, hilly, or upland countryside. Pachi is making a note of that word, Wolds. I've never really noticed it before. I mean, I've noticed it as the names of places, like the Cotswolds, but alone is a word I've never seen that before. The accident to the launch has been a terrible thing for us. Only for it, we should have overtaken the boat long ago, and by now my dear Mina would have been free. I fear to think of her, off on the wolds near that horrid place. We have got horses, and we follow on the track. I note this whilst Godalming is getting ready. We have our arms. The Sgani must look out if they mean to fight. Oh, if only Morris and Seward were with us. We must only hope. If I write no more goodbye, Mina, God bless and keep you. Dr. Seward's Diary, 5th of November. With the dawn, we saw the body of the Sgani before us, dashing away. Dashing means like running. Running away from the river with their lighter wagon. They surrounded it in a cluster and hurried along as though beset. The snow is falling lightly, and there is a strange excitement in the air. It may be our own feelings, but the depression is strange. Far off, I hear the howling of wolves. Howling is, "Ow!" The snow brings them down from the mountains, and there are dangers to all of us, and from all sides. The horses are nearly ready, and we are soon off. And there we go again, having the preposition off, meaning leaving. And this just means to be off. It's the verb to be plus the preposition off, and that means we're leaving. We are soon leaving. We're soon off. We ride to death of someone. God alone knows who, or where, or what, or when, or how it may be. Pachi is asking about the word beset. To me, that sort of means like being burdened with something or being attacked by something. Let's see. That's not a very good definition, so I'm just asking ChatGPT. Yeah, to be surrounded or attacked from all sides. So surrounded, attacked. It's kind of those two words together. Where did they use that word? So the Zgani, I don't know, that looks like a Hungarian word, and it sounds like it's a way of referring to the people who were working for them. But let me just ask. Zgani is an old term for Hungarian. Oh, oh. This just refers to a typical group of a particular group of people that you would find in Central or Eastern Europe. And it seems like they were maybe paying them to work, to carry their things. So, but they saw the Zgani, these people, the people, their servants, the ones they were paying to carry things, running away, dashing away from the river. Uh, they surrounded it in a cluster and hurried along as though beset. So they were running away like they were being surrounded and chased by something. And Pachu says, which animals can howl? Well, mostly dog kind of animals. Dogs howl, wolves howl. Ow! It's just that noise. The wind, the wind can howl if it's blowing very strong. That's the wind howling. So even the wind can howl. I forgot where I was. Okay, let's start here. Dr. Van Helsing's memorandum, 5th of November afternoon. I am at least sane. Sane means healthy, but a lot of times what it means is healthy in the head, not crazy. Sane can mean the opposite of crazy. So he's saying, I'm not crazy. He's saying, at least I'm sane. I know I'm sane. I know I'm not going crazy. I'm at least sane. Thank God for the mercy at all events, though the proving it has been dreadful. When I left Madam Mina sleeping within the holy circle, I took my way to the castle. The blacksmith hammer which I took in the carriage from Veresti was useful. Though the doors were all open, I broke them off the rusty hinges, lest some ill intent or ill chance should come close to them. So all of the doors and windows were open, but anyway, the professor broke them. And then he uses the word lest to name his fear. So I broke all the windows and the doors because I was afraid that somebody with bad intentions or bad luck would close them. So he's naming his fear, lest some ill intent or ill chance should come close to them. And so that being entered, I might not get out. Jonathan's bitter experience served me here by memory of his diary. I found my way to the old chapel, for I knew that here my work lay. The air was oppressive. It seemed as if there was some sulphurous fume, which at times made me dizzy. Either there was a roaring in my ears, or I heard afar off the "ow" howl of wolves. And then I bethought me of my dear Madam Mina, and I was in terrible plight. The dilemma had me between his horns. Her I had not dared to take into this place, but left safe from the vampire in that holy circle, and yet even there would be the wolf. I resolved me that that my work lay here, and that as to the wolves we must submit, if it were God's will. At any rate, it was only death and freedom beyond. So did I choose for her. Had it but for myself, the choice had been easy. The maw of the wolf were better to rest in than the grave of the vampire. So I make my choice to go on with my work. So he's saying that, well, he left Mina in that circle, that magical circle that he made, where she would be protected from the vampires. but that doesn't mean that a wolf couldn't attack her. And he was saying, well, I have to go here and do this job. There's nothing I can do about that. And anyway, if a wolf kills her, well, that would be better than becoming a vampire. So it's better to die from a wolf than to become a vampire. I knew that there were at least 3 graves to find, graves that are inhabit. Inhabit means somebody lives there. Somebody lives in that place. So he needs to find graves, places where dead bodies are. There should be 3 of them. And there should be bodies. There should be people living there. There should be bodies in them. They shouldn't be empty. So I search, and I find one of them. She lay in her vampire's sleep, so full of life and voluptuous beauty. So there's that word voluptuous again. It kind of means sexy, round shapes. That I shudder as though, and shuddering is, ooh. That I shudder as though I have come to do murder. Ah, I doubt not that in the old time when such things were, many a man who set forth to do such a task as mine found at the last his heart failed him, and then his nerve. So he delay and delay and delay, till the mere beauty and fascination of the wanton undead have hypnotized him. He's thinking about people in the past who were in his position. He found one of these women, these vampire women, but she doesn't look scary or ugly. She looks very beautiful. And he could imagine in the past how some men would try to do what he must do, but they couldn't because she was so beautiful that they would stop and not do it. And he remain on and on till sunset come, and the vampire's sleep be over. Then the beautiful eyes of the fair woman open and look love, and the voluptuous mouth present to a kiss, and the man is weak, and there remain one more victim in the vampire fold, one more to swell the grim and grisly ranks of the undead. There is some fascination, surely, when I'm moved by the mere presence of such a one, even lying as she lay in a tomb, fretted with age and heavy with the dust of centuries, that there be that horrid odor. Odor means smell, so there's a horrible smell, such as in the lairs of the Count have had. Yes, I was moved, I, Van Helsing, with all my purpose and with my fate, with my motive for hate. I was moved to a yearning. A yearning is a very strong desire. You want it with all of your heart. I was moved to a yearning for delay, so he didn't want to do it either. She was very beautiful. Which seemed to paralyze my faculties and to clog my very soul. It may have been that the need of natural sleep and the strange oppression of the air were beginning to overcome me. Certain it was that I was lapsing into sleep, the open-eyed sleep of one who yields to a sweet fascination, when there came through the snow-stilled air a long, low wail. A wail is like a cry, like, ooh. Think of it as like a human howling. Pachia's asking about oppression. Oppression is when you hold something down. When do they use the word oppression? It would be a little bit hard to explain what oppressive air is, but if you imagine that you're in a small, stinky room that's full of dirt and dead bodies, Imagine the kind of air that would be in there, kind of holding you down. That's oppressive air. Or, see, I never imagined that Nepal ever gets very hot. But imagine if you are in India in the middle of summer and it's so hot. You would call that oppressive heat. It's so hot that it's holding you down. Maybe that makes sense. Think about oppressive heat. But this is oppressive air. The air is holding you down. Pacha is asking about the word lapse. I just want to get a definition on lapse. That's used in a lot of words. I guess it should mean like returning. That's what I think. I think lapse would mean like returning, but... Oh, temporary failure or slip in judgment, concentration, or behavior. So a temporary failure. A lapse in time. An interval, a gap, or a pause. Well, how did they use it here? Lapse. So, lapsing into sleep, like he's failing into sleep. He's having a moment, just a very temporary moment, where he's failing and going to sleep. So he opens the coffin and he sees the beautiful dead body of the woman, but she doesn't look dead. She looks very beautiful. She looks voluptuous, and he's delaying. Oh, I can't try to kill her. And he's just standing there, but now he's lapsing into sleep. He's having a temporary failure into sleep. Pachi is asking about clarion, but did we read that word? I don't remember that word. Are you ahead of me? Let's see. Then I braced myself again to my horrid task, and found by wrenching away tomb tops one other of the sisters, the dark one, I dared not pause, look on her as I had on her sister, lest once more I should begin to be in thrall. But I go on searching until presently I find a high great tomb, as if made to one much beloved, that other fair sister, which, like Jonathan, Pacha wrote the sound of a clarion. But did we read that already? Because I don't remember seeing that. Enthrall. Pacha's asking about the word enthrall. But the word thrill means like excitement. And enthrall, I think, is very similar to thrill. Thrill, thrall. It's kind of the same word. But let's just get a definition. A clarion, I think, is a horn. It's like a trumpet. So the sound of a clarion would be like the sound of a trumpet, like an instrument. But it's usually used, I think, for warning. But I don't remember reading that. So enthrall means to captivate or charm completely. So to give a thrill. I lost my place. I forgot where I was. Let's just start from. Then I braced myself again to my horrid task, and found by wrenching away tomb tops One other of the sisters, the other dark one, I dared not pause to look on her as I had on her sister, lest once more I should begin to be enthralled. So he opened the first box, and he found it very difficult to try to kill her. So this time, when he opened the next box, he wouldn't look because lest he be enthralled. He was afraid that he would get the same hesitation as with the first one. But I go on searching until presently I find in a high great tomb, as if made to one much beloved, that other fair sister which, like Jonathan, I had seen gather herself out of the atoms of the mist. She was so fair to look on, so radiantly beautiful, so exquisitely voluptuous, that the very instinct of man in me, which calls some of my sex to love and to protect one of hers, made my head whirl with new emotion. Whirl just means like a circular movement. But God be thanked, that soul wail of my dear Madam Mina had not died out of my ears. And before the spell could be wrought further open, I had nerved myself to my wild work. But this time I had searched all the tombs in the chapel, so far as I could tell. And as there had been only 3 of these undead phantoms around us in the night, I took it that there were no more of active undead existent. There was one great tomb more, lordly than all the rest. Huge it was, and nobly proportioned. On it was but one word, Dracula. This, then, was the undead home of the king vampire, to whom so many more were due. Its emptiness spoke eloquent to make certain what I knew. Before I began to restore these women to their dead selves through my awful work, I laid in Dracula's tomb some of the wafer, and so banished him from it, undead forever. Then began my terrible task, and I dreaded it. Had it been but one, it had been easy enough, comparative, but 3! To begin twice more after I had been through a deed of horror. But it was terrible, with the sweet Miss Lucy, what it would not be with these strange ones who had survived through centuries, and who had been strengthened by the passing of the years, who would, if they could, have fought for their foul lives. Oh, my friend John, but it was a butcher work. Had I not been nerved by thoughts of other dead and of the living over whom hung such a pall of fear, I could not have gone on. I tremble and tremble even yet, though till all was over. God be thanked, my nerve did stand. Had I not seen the repose in the first place, and the gladness that stole over it, it's just ere the final dissolution came, as my realization that the soul had been won. I could not have gone further with my butchery. I could not have endured the horrid screeching, and the stake drove home, and the plunging of writhing form and lips of bloody foam. I should have fled in terror and left my work undone. But it's over. And the poor souls, I can pity them now and weep as I can of them, placid, each in her full sleep of death for a short moment, ere fading. For friend John, hardly had my knife severed the head of each before the whole body began to melt away and crumble into its native dust, as though the death that should have come centuries ago had at last assert himself, and say at once and loud, "I am here." Before I left the castle, I so fixed its entrances that never more can the Count enter there undead. When I stepped into the circle where Madam Mina slept, she woke from her sleep and, seeing me, cried out in pain that I had endured too much. "Come," she said, "come away from this awful place. Let us go to meet my husband, who is, I know, coming towards us." She was looking thin and pale and weak, but her eyes were pure and glowed with fervor. I was glad to see her paleness and her illness, for my mind was full of fresh horror of that ruddy vampire sleep. And so, with trust and hope and yet full of fear, we go eastward to meet our friends and him whom Madam Mina tell me that she know are coming to meet us. Mina Harker's Journal, 6th of November. It was late in the afternoon when the professor and I took our way towards the east, whence I know Jonathan was coming. We did not go fast, though the way was steeply downhill, for we had to take heavy rugs and wraps with us, and we dare not face the possibility of being left without warmth in the cold and the snow. We had to take some of our provisions too. Provisions, that means like food. If you go camping or go on a long trip by land, you have to take some food with you, and those are called provisions. For we were in perfect desolation, and so far as we could see through the snowfall, there was not even the sign of habitation. When we had gone about a mile, I was tired and with heavy walking, and sat down to rest, and then we looked back and saw where the clear line of Dracula's castle cut in the sky. For we were so deep under the hill whereon it was set, that the angle of perspective of the Carpathian Mountains was far below it. We saw it in all its grandeur, perched 1,000 feet on the summit. Perch sort of means like sitting, but it's usually what you probably have to think about is a bird. Birds perch. These are birds perching. It's sort of like sitting. And if you want to talk about something sitting high up somewhere, you say that it's perched. So they were down on the road, but they could see the castle perched above them, sitting like a bird above them. We saw it in all its grandeur, perched 1,000 feet. That would be like, I don't know, 300 meters, something like that. Perched 1,000 feet on the summit of a sheer precipice. Remember, precipice is the edge, with seemingly a great gap between it and the steep of the adjacent mountain on any side. There was something wild and uncanny about the place. Uncanny means strange, and you can't explain why. There was just something very strange about that place, and I can't tell you why. I can't explain why. It gives me an uncomfortable feeling. We could hear the distant howling of wolves. Pachi is asking about the word grandeur. That's a French word. It's just the noun form of grand, which means big. So in English, that would be like bigness. We could hear the distant howling of the wolves, and they were far off, but the sound, even though coming muffled, remember muffling is when some obstacle prevents noise. This is my muffled mouth. So the snow was muffling all of the sounds. The wolves were howling, but there was so much snow that it was not as loud or as big as you would expect. They were far off, but the sound, even though coming muffled through the deadening snowfall, was full of terror. I knew from the way Dr. Van Helsing was searching about that he was trying to seek some strategic point where we would be less exposed in case of attack. The rough roadway still led downwards. We could trace it through the drifted snow. In a little while, the professor signaled me, so I got up and joined him. He had found a wonderful spot, a sort of natural hollow in a rock, with an entrance like a doorway between two boulders. He took me by the hand and drew me in. "See," he said, "here you will be in shelter, and if the wolves do come, I can meet them one by one." He brought in our furs and made a snug nest. Snug means very comfortable, warm and comfortable. And made a snug nest for me, and got out some provisions and forced them upon me. But I could not eat. To even try to do so was repulsive to me. Repulsive means disgusting. And as much as I would have liked to please him, I could not bring myself to attempt. He looked very sad, but did not reproach me. Taking his field hands from the case, he stood on top of the rock and began to search the horizon. Suddenly he called out, "Look, Madamina, look, look!" I sprang up and stood beside him on the rock, and he handed me his glasses and pointed out. The snow was now falling more heavily, and swirled, that's like moving in a circle, and swirled about fiercely, for a high wind was beginning to blow. However, there were times when there were pauses between the snow flurries, and I could see a long way round, and from the height where we were it was possible to see a great distance. Pachu is asking about the word spring up. Spring means jump, and up means up, so spring up means to jump up very quickly. Where did you see that? Oh, my nose is itchy for some reason. Oh, let's see. I don't see spring up. Oh, I sprang up. So I jumped up very quickly. Spring is an irregular verb. Spring, sprang, sprung. However, there were times when there were pauses between the snow flurries, and I could see a long way round, and from the height where we were, it was possible to see a great distance, and far off, beyond the white waste of snow, I could see the river, lying like a black ribbon in kinks and curls as it wound its way. Straight in front of us, and not far off, in fact, so near I wondered we had not noticed before, came a group of mounted men hurrying along. In the midst of them was a cart, a long ladder wagon, which swept from one side to side, like a dog's tail wagging. Dog's tail wagging, that's when a dog moves his tail like that, or any tail, not just a dog. With each stern inequality of the road, outlined against the snow as they were, I could see from the men's clothes that they were peasants or gypsies of some kind. On the cart was a great square chest. My heart leaped as I saw it, for I felt that the end was coming. The evening was now drawing close, and well I knew that at sunset the thing, which was still imprisoned there, would take new freedom, and could in any of many forms elude pursuit. Elude means like escape or avoid. In fear I turned to the professor, and to my consternation means like frustration or anger. To my consternation, however, he was not there. So she turned to the professor to get his reaction, and she was like, "Oh, he's not there. Where did he go?" An instant later, I saw him below me. Round the rock he had drawn a circle, such as we had found shelter in last night. And when he had completed it, he stood beside me again, saying, "At least you shall be safe here from him." He took the glasses from me, and at the next lull of the snow, swept the whole place below us. "See," he said, "they come quickly. They are flogging the horses." Flogging means hitting the horses with a whip or a stick. "And galloping as hard as they can." He paused and went on in a hollow voice, "They're racing for the sunset. We may be too late. God's will be done." Down came another blinding rush of driving snow, and the whole landscape was blotted out. It soon passed, however, and once more his glasses were fixed on the plain. Pachi is asking about galloping. That's like running. It's usually used to talk about animals, especially horses. If you see a horse running, that's a horse galloping. Then came a sudden cry. "Look, look, look! See, 2 horsemen follow fast, coming up from the south. It must be Quincy and John. Take the glass. Look before the snow blots it all out." I took it and looked, and 2 men might be Dr. Seward and Mr. Morris. I knew at all events that neither of them was Jonathan. At the same time, I knew that Jonathan was not far off. Looking around, I saw on the north side of the coming party 2 other men, riding at breakneck speed. That's an expression, breakneck speed. That means going very, very fast. One of them I knew was Jonathan, and the other I took, of course, to be Lord Godalming. They too were pursuing the party with the cart. When I told the professor, he shouted in glee. Glee means happiness, like a schoolboy. And after looking intently till a snowfall made sight impossible, he laid his Winchester rifle ready for use against the boulder at the opening of our shelter. They're all converging. Converging means coming together. Romuleo says, "Good night." Good night, Romuleo. Thank you for watching. Glee means happiness, Pachu. It's another way of saying happiness. They're all converging. Converging means coming together. So maybe, I don't know if I'm imagining this, because he's saying they're converging, it seems like they were taking different roads or something. So one set of people was here on one road, and they're up high on a mountain looking down. So they can see one group going this way, another group coming this way, and another group coming that way, and they're all converging, coming together. "They're all converging," he said. "When the time comes, we shall have gypsies on all sides." Oh, the professor thinks they're gypsies. Those are kind of, I don't know if you know what gypsies are, but those are kind of like nomadic people in Europe. They don't really have fixed homes. They're always traveling from one place to another place, and a lot of people would be afraid of them, afraid that they would rob them or do something bad to them. So that's why he says, "I've got out my revolver ready to hand," for whilst we were speaking, the howling of wolves came louder and closer. When the snowstorm abated, a moment we looked again. It was strange to see the snow falling in such heavy flakes close to us and beyond, the sun shining more and more brightly as it sank down towards the far mountain tops, sweeping the glass all around us. I could see here and there dots moving singly in 2s and 3s in large numbers, and the wolves were gathering for their prey. I'm confused. So, it sounds like they're watching... Well, Mina thinks that they're friends with Dracula, and the professor seems to think it's gypsies, and it also appears that maybe the wolves are closing in and they're going to eat everyone. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I'm confused. Every instant seemed an age whilst we waited. The wind came now in fierce bursts, and the snow was driven with fury as it swept upon us in circling eddies. At times, we could see an arm's length before us, but at others, as the hollow sounding wind swept by us, it seemed to clear the airspace around us so that we could see afar off. We had of late been so accustomed to watch for sunrise and sunset that we knew with fair accuracy when it would be. And we knew that before long the sun would set. It was hard to believe that by our watches it was less than an hour that we waited in that rocky shelter before the various bodies began to converge close upon us. The wind came now with fiercer and more bitter sweeps, and more steadily from the north. It seemingly had driven the snow clouds from us, for with only occasional bursts the snow fell. We could distinguish clearly the individuals of each party, the pursued and the pursuers. Oh, okay, now I remember. Now I know what the problem is. When Jonathan was trying to escape the castle in the beginning of the story, there were a group of gypsies around him. So gypsies, they're sort of like these nomadic people in Europe who don't really live in permanent homes. They just sleep in tents and move from place to place. And they have a very bad reputation. They still, I would say, probably have a bad reputation. And they have a reputation for being criminals. I'm not calling them criminals. I'm saying they have a reputation for that. Anyway, the gypsies were the ones who helped the Count transfer. They transferred his box from the castle to the ship. So they were working for him. And now what's happened is that this group of people, Lord Godalming and Jonathan Harker and Quincy, have stolen the box with the Count in it, and they're taking it up to the cave. So the gypsies are chasing them because they guard the Count. But the wolves are after all of them because, or maybe the wolves are working for Count Dracula. I don't really know. Maybe we'll find out in a moment. Ha 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 ha. Closer and closer they drew. The professor and I crouched down behind our rock and held our weapons ready. I could see that he was determined that they should not pass. One and all were quite unaware of our presence. All at once, two voices shouted out to halt. That means stop. One was my Jonathan's, raised in a high key of passion. The other, Mr. Morris' strong, resolute tone of quiet command. The gypsies may not have known the language, but there was no mistaking the tone. In whatever tongue the words were spoken. Instinctively, they reined in. So reining, that's how you control a horse. To rein in means to pull the reins back, which makes the horse stop. And at the instant, Lord Godalming and Jonathan dashed up at one side and Dr. Seward and Mr. Morris on the other. The leader of the gypsies, a splendid-looking fellow who sat his horse like a centaur, waved them back, and in a fierce voice gave to his companions some word to proceed. They lashed the horses, which sprang forward, but the four men raised their Winchester rifles and, in an unmistakable way, commanded them to stop. At the same moment, Dr. Van Helsing and I rose behind the rock and pointed our weapons at them. Seeing that they were surrounded, the men tightened in their reins and drew up. The leader turned to them and gave a word at which every man of the gypsy party drew what weapon he carried, knife or pistol, and held himself in readiness to attack. issue was joined in an instant. The leader, with a quick movement of his rein, threw his horse out in front and pointed first to the sun, now close down on the hilltops, and then to the castle, said something which I did not understand. For answer, all 4 men of our party threw themselves from their horses and dashed towards the cart. I should have felt terrible fear at seeing Jonathan in such danger, but that the ardor of battle must have been upon me as well as the rest of them. I felt no fear, but only a wild surging desire to do something. Seeing the quick movement of our parties, the leader of the gypsies gave a command. His men instantly formed round the cart in a sort of undisciplined endeavor. Endeavor means attempt or try to do something. Each one shouldering and pushing the other in his eagerness to carry out the order. In the midst of this, I could see that Jonathan on one side of the ring of men and Quincy on the other were forcing a way to the cart. It was evident that they were bent on finishing their task before the sun should set. Nothing seemed to stop or even hinder them. Neither the leveled weapons, nor the flashing knives of the gypsies in front, nor the howling of the wolves behind appeared to even attract their attention. John's impetuosity and the manifest singleness of his purpose seemed to overawe those in front of him. Instinctively they cowered aside and let him pass. In an instant he had jumped upon the cart, and with a strength which seemed incredible, raised a great box and flung it over the wheel to the ground. In the meantime, Mr. Morris had to use force to pass through his side the ring of Sgani. So Sgani, gypsy, it's the same thing. All the time I had been breathlessly watching Jonathan. I had, with the tail of my eye, seen him pressing desperately forward, and had seen the knives of the gypsies flash as he won a way through them, and they cut at him. He had parried with his great bowie knife, and at first I thought that he too had come through in safety, but as he sprang beside Jonathan, who had by now jumped from the cart, I could see that with his left hand he was clutching his side. Clutching means holding his side, and that there was blood spurting through his fingers. He did not delay, notwithstanding this, for as Jonathan, with desperate energy, attacked one end of the chest, attempting to prise off the lid with his great kukri knife, he attacked the other frantically with his bowie. Under the efforts of both men, the lid began to yield. The nails drew with a screeching sound. Screeching is like ee, is a high sound. And the top of the box was thrown back. By this time, the gypsies, seeing themselves covered by the Winchesters and at the mercy of Lord Godalming and Dr. Seward, had given in and made no further resistance. The sun was almost down on the mountain tops, and the shadows of the whole group fell upon the snow. I saw the Count lying within the box upon the earth, some of which the rude falling from the cart had scattered over him. He was deathly pale, just like a waxen image, and the red eyes glared with the horrible vindictive look which I knew so well. As I looked, the eyes saw the sinking sun, and the look of hate in them turned to triumph. But on the instant came a sweep and a flash of Jonathan's great knife. I shrieked, that means she screamed, as I saw it shear through the throat, whilst at the same moment Mr. Morris's bowie knife plunged means go down very quickly, plunged into the heart. It was like a miracle, but before our very eyes, and almost in the drawing of a breath, the whole body crumbled into dust and passed from our sight. I shall be glad as long as I live that even in that moment of final dissolution, there was in the face a look of peace, such as I never could have imagined might have rested there. The castle of Dracula now stood out against the red sky, and every stone of its broken battlements was articulated against the light of the setting sun. The gypsies, taking us as in some way the cause of an extraordinary disappearance of the dead man, turned without a word and rode away as if for their lives. Those who were unmounted jumped upon the later wagon and shouted to the horsemen not to desert them. The wolves, which had withdrawn to a safe distance, followed in their wake, leaving us alone. Mr. Morris, who had sunk to the ground, leaned on his elbow, holding his hand pressed to his side. The blood still gushed through his fingers. Gushing means a lot of liquid pouring out. I flew to him, for the holy circle did not now keep me back. So did the two doctors. Jonathan knelt behind him, and the wounded man laid back his head on his shoulder, and with a sigh he took with a feeble effort my hand and that of his own, which was unstained. He must have seen the anguish in my heart. Anguish means pain or suffering. He must have seen the anguish of my heart in my face, for he smiled at me and said, "I'm only too happy to have been of service." "Oh God," he cried suddenly, struggling to a sitting posture, and pointing to me. "It was worth for this to die. Look, look." The sun was now right down upon the mountain top. The red gleams fell upon my face, and so it was bathed in rosy light. With one impulse, the men sank on their knees, and a deep and earnest Amen broke from all of their eyes. It broke from all, as their eyes followed the pointing of his finger. The dying man spoke. "Now, God be thanked that all has not been in vain." So remember, if something is in vain, that means you do it, but you get no result. So they're saying, thank God this was not in vain. Thank God we didn't do all of this work, and this man is dying for no result. We accomplished our task. "See, the snow is not mere stainless than her forehead. The curse has passed away." And to our bitter grief, with a smile and in silence, he died, a gallant gentleman. And then we have, this is our last page, but then we're finished. 7 years ago, we all went through the flames, and the happiness of some of us since then is, we think, well worth the pain we endured. It is an added joy to Mina and to me that our boy's birthday is the same day as that on which Quincy Morris died. His mother holds, I know, the secret belief that some of our brave friend's spirit has passed into him. His bundle of names links all our little band of men together, but we call him Quincy. In summer of this year, we made a journey to Transylvania and went over to the old ground which was, and is, to us, so full of vivid and terrible memories. It was almost impossible to believe that the things which we had seen in our own eyes and heard with our own ears were living truths. Every trace of all that we had was blotted out. The castle stood as before, reared high above the waste of desolation. When we got home, we were talking of the old time, which we could all look back on without despair. For Godalming and Seward are both happily married. I took the papers from the safe where they had been ever since our return so long ago, and we were struck with the fact that in all the mass of material of which the record is composed, there's hardly one authentic document, nothing but a mass of typewriting, except the latter notebooks of Mina and Seward and myself and Van Helsing's memorandum. We could hardly ask anyone, even did we wish to, to accept these as proofs of so wild a story. Van Helsing summed up all of his summed it all up, as he said, with our boy on his knee. We want no proofs, we ask none to believe us. This boy will some day know what a brave and gallant woman his mother is. Already he knows her sweetness and loving care, and later he will understand how some men so loved her, that they did dear much for her sake. Jonathan Harker. Okay. Well, Pachu and Alex, do you want to practice? You haven't said anything. I assume you want to. If they say yes, don't go away, because now we're going to practice some of the vocabulary words that we talked about. The focus, though, will be on pronunciation, accentuation, and intonation to reduce the accent. So if you want to reduce your accent, if you want to speak more clearly, or if you want to understand spoken English better, then don't go away, because I'm assuming Alex and Pachu are still here. Where are you? Okay. Well, while we're waiting for them to say yes. Oh, Alex says yes. Alex is here. Okay, I'm going to take a few minutes break, and what I'm going to do is just get some definitions and examples for some of the words that we talked about. And then Pachu and Alex will join us on Discord, and then we'll practice together. So don't go away if you want to join us. All right, I will be back in a few minutes. Okay, we're back. Thank you for waiting. Now um, let's switch documents here. These are the words that we'll be talking about today. And now I'm just going over to Discord. Let's see. We'll just I don't know what maybe Pachu disappeared. Let's see. Hello, Alex. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can. Yep.
Okay, good. How are you?
Um, Good. Thank you. Yourself.
That's good. Okay. Well, I guess I guess Pachu's not here. That's unusual. Oh, there he is. There's Pachu. Hello.
But you a message early, and I send a message like 3 minutes. 11. Yeah, 3 minutes past 11. Like I bet you send you a message 10 to 11
Alex, are
in
you
the phone.
talking to me?
Yeah.
Pachu sent me a message. I didn't see any messages.
No.
Okay. Well, anyway, he's here. I think. Right, Pachu? Are you there?
Yeah, and I send you a message early as well in the phone.
Hello, sir.
Okay, there we go.
Yep.
All right. Okay, well, let's start practicing. All right. Uh, Alex, have you seen this word before? Zeal. Zeal.
Zeal is zeal for like desire or wish or want or something like that.
A lot of passion, a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of energy.
Enthusiasm, yeah, or desire, yeah, energy, yeah.
Okay. Pachu, have you seen that word before? Zeal.
Yes, yes.
Yes, you've seen it before? Pachu, can you read
Y-
the first sentence that we have? What is the. Let me try to put that on the screen completely.
Okay.
What does that say? What is our first sentence?
His zeal for learning new languages is inspiring.
What can you tell me that in different words?
Zeal means exciting.
Enthusiasm, excitement, passion. Hmm.
Yeah.
So, is the idea of the sentence pretty clear for you?
Mm.
Yes, yes.
Oh, uh, Pachu, can you say the first three words?
His zeal for.
Okay, maybe if you tried to say, let's put two words here. Can you see the two words that I have written up on the screen?
Yes.
How would you say the first word?
The seal
Seal. How would you say the second word?
is a zeal. Zeal.
Seal. So the difference is really that when you say number one, you're pushing the air out, but when you say number two, you're eating the air. So it's zeal. You have to try to push the air down instead of out. Zeal, and then your tongue will vibrate. Zeal,
Zeal. Zeal.
zeal, zeal,
Zeal.
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 And number one is seal. The air goes out.
Seal. Seal.
Seal, seal.
Seal. Seal.
Make it longer. Seal,
Seal. Seal.
seal, seal.
Seal.
That was good. That
Seal.
was good. And then number two is very similar, except you try to push the air down instead of out. Zeal, zeal.
Zeal.
Mhm.
Zeal.
But make it longer. Zeal,
Zeal. Zeal.
zeal. You gotta feel your tongue moving, vibrating. Zeal,
Zeal.
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 It's the sound of a mosquito. Zzz. Right, maybe they
Yes.
sound different in Nepal, but that's how they
No,
sound in
no,
English.
same.
Zzz. What?
Yes, same sound.
Oh, so can you make the sound of a mosquito? Zzz. No.
Yes. Hello, sir.
Okay, can you try?
It jail.
Zeal. Pachu, what is the important word in that phrase? His zeal for. Which word is important there?
Jail.
Zeal. Okay. So we'll make that big. All right. Alex, can you say that phrase? His zeal for.
Zeal for.
Try again.
His zeal for.
His zeal for. Okay. What do you think about the next three words, Alex? Learning new languages. Which words do you think are important?
Learning language.
Mm-hmm. What about the word new?
Yeah, I can say the three.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that, please?
I can say the three words are important.
All three? Okay. Well, if we say
Yeah.
learning, where is all of the power?
Learning.
Learning.
Le-
Learning.
learning. Yeah.
Learning. Learning new.
New language.
Where is all of the power in the word languages?
Lang. Yeah. Lang. Yeah.
Lang. Lang. Okay. So we have
Language.
his zeal for learning
Uh,
new languages.
languages. Yeah.
Can you say the whole phrase? His zeal for learning
His,
new languages.
his zeal for learning new languages.
Pachu, can you say that? His zeal for learning new languages.
Is jail for learning new languages.
Pachu, are you okay tonight? You don't sound happy today. His zeal for
Yeah.
learning new languages.
Yes, my family
You having a
is.
difficult day?
Yeah. My family is sleeping,
Oh,
so
oh, I see. So
she
you're
is
trying to be
crying.
quiet. Okay.
Yeah, she is crying. I
Okay.
don't know.
So you can whisper. You can say, his zeal for learning new languages. You can be quiet. It's okay. Can you
Yes,
say it again?
is jail for learning new languages.
Languages. Lane.
The
Languages.
languages,
His zeal for
languages.
learning new languages. Pachu, what are the final two words?
It's inspiring.
hmm And which word is important in that phrase?
So inspiring.
Okay, inspiring. And where is all the power in that word?
So inspiring.
hmm
Ins ins
That would be inspiring. Is it inspiring or inspiring?
inspiring.
So where's the sound? Where's all the power?
It's a second.
Second one, spire, spire,
Yeah,
spire,
spire,
spire.
spire.
His zeal for
Yes.
learning new languages is inspiring.
Zeal for learning new languages is inspiring.
Alex, can you say that? His zeal for learning new languages is inspiring.
Zeal for learning new languages is inspiring.
Okay. And let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's just give everything high tones, okay, except for the final part of the phrase. So we'll make all of
Okay.
our powerful sounds high tones. Okay, and then we'll always try to
Okay.
go down a little bit.
Okay. His zeal for learning new languages is inspiring.
Mm-hmm. His zeal for learning new languages is inspiring.
Okay. His zeal for learning new languages is inspiring.
Pachu, can you say that?
His zeal for learning new languages is inspiring.
Languages. Languages.
L- languages,
Languages. His
languages.
zeal for learning new languages is inspiring.
His zeal for learning new languages is inspiring.
Okay, Pachu, can you make a what he have zeal for question? What he have zeal for?
What what has he zeal for?
Well, that's possible, but probably you wouldn't say it like that. Can you? How would you use the question form? What would be another question form that you could use in that situation?
Yeah.
Use do. Hello. I think Pachu's just
Don't
Hello, sir.
get go.
Yeah, electricity.
What?
Yeah, electricity. Yeah, electricity has just gone, so my
Oh,
Wi-Fi is turned off.
okay. It's okay now.
Yes, okay.
Okay. So, can you make a question? What he have zeal for? Use do.
Uh, what does his zeal
What does he have? What does he
have for?
What does he have zeal for?
What does he have zeal for?
And what is the most important word in that question?
It's what?
Mm-hmm. What? Can you say what plus does plus he?
What does he?
What does he? What does he have zeal for?
What does he have zeal for?
Is it zeal or zeal?
Is it zeal?
Zeal. What does he have zeal for?
What does he have zeal for?
Mm-hmm. Alex, can you make that question? How would you make that question?
what does he have zeal for?
Mm-hmm. What is the answer, Alex? What does he have zeal for?
He has zeal for learning new languages.
Okay, he has zeal for learning new languages. Pachu, what does he have zeal for?
His zeal for learning new languages is inspiring.
Okay, all right. Let's move on to our next sentence. Alex, do you know this word drowsy? Have you seen that before?
Drowsy means sleepy or a bit tired.
That's
Not
right. It
fully
could be
sleepy, but a bit tired. Yeah.
sleepy or feeling tired. That's right. That's a pretty useful word. Have you seen that word before, Pachu?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Alex, can you read the number two? What does it say?
Yeah. I always feel drowsy after a big lunch. I'm,
Okay.
yeah, it's about me.
That's me. now
That's
now that I'm
definitely
old,
me.
now that I'm old, after I sleep, after I eat, I have to go to sleep.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm the same.
Can you read the first?
Look,
Go
yes,
ahead. Go ahead. What?
just to overcome this one, you need small portion.
Yeah. Oh, is that right?
And
Only
sometimes,
eat only eat a little bit.
sometimes if you have, yeah, If you just drinking what we call apple vinegar as well
Apple
with
cider
with
vinegar.
yeah, cider vinegar,
Mm.
apple vinegar or cider vinegar. It was a water anyway.
That will that will
Was
that
a
will
water.
keep you
Yeah,
awake.
yeah. They will help your rest. Anyway,
Okay.
yes. I
Can you
always I always did. Yes,
read the first four words?
I always feel drowsy.
What would you say are important words in that phrase? I always feel drowsy.
Drowsy, and I always feel drowsy.
All of them? All of
I
them?
don't know. I
Okay.
think drowsy, always are
Always
drowsy.
feel drowsy. I think maybe let's skip feel. Maybe we don't need that. But let's do always and drowsy.
Mhm.
Uh, in that word always, which word has all of the power?
Ways, ways,
Always. That would be always. Is it always or is it always? Which
all, always, all, yeah, always, yeah.
always. Okay, it's the first syllable. How about drowsy? Drowsy.
Drowsy,
Drow. Drow. Okay. So this would sound like I always feel drowsy.
sorry, there's a breakup.
I think there's a little bit of a connection problem, Alex. I can't hear you. Can you try to say that again?
I always feel drowsy.
I always feel drowsy. Panchu, can you say that? I always feel drowsy.
I always feel drowsy.
That's good, Alex. Panchu, can you say it? I always feel drowsy.
I
I
always
always
feel
feel
drowsy.
Try again, Pachu.
Oh, yeah.
I always feel drowsy.
Okay. Pachu, what are the next four words in that phrase?
After a big lunch,
I think we're cursed tonight. Everybody has a bad connection. I can't hear anybody. Can you try again, Pachu?
after a big lunch,
Okay. We have problems tonight. We've got after a. I can't really hear Pachu. The connection is bad. We have after a, which will sound like this: after a, after a, after a. I always feel
after
drowsy after a. Can you say that, Pachu?
I always feel drowsy after a
Okay. And what about the next two words, big lunch? Do you want to emphasize both words or maybe just one word? What do you think?
it's a big,
Big?
big.
Okay, so let's make the vowel sound really long. Big lunch.
It's a big lunch.
I always feel drowsy after a big lunch.
I always feel drowsy after a big lunch.
Alex, can you say that? I always feel drowsy after a big lunch.
I always feel drowsy after a big lunch.
Okay, so and then what we'll do, we're just going to, for convenience, we're going to make everything high toned, okay? And
Okay.
except the final one will make blue to signify low, okay? But you will go down. I mean, so this is I always feel drowsy after a big lunch. Can you say that, Alex?
I all okay. I always feel drowsy after a big lunch.
Mm-hmm. I always feel drowsy after a big lunch.
I always feel drowsy after a big lunch.
Pancho, can you try that? I always feel drowsy after a big lunch.
I always feel drowsy after a big lunch.
Alex, can you make a when I always feel drowsy question?
Okay, when do I feel drowsy?
Always. Let's use always also.
When always do you do when I al when always when I when I when all when I
Okay.
can't get it.
That's okay. That's okay.
When
Go
uh,
ahead.
when do I always get drowsy?
Okay, that's good. Tell me again.
When do I always get drowsy or
Okay, and
feel drowsy? Yeah.
what is your most important word in that question? When do I always feel drowsy?
When when
When? Okay.
when
How would you say when plus do plus I?
when do I
When do I?
when do I when
When
do
do
I
I? When do I?
when do I when do I yeah when do I
When do I always feel drowsy?
when do I always feel drowsy?
Pachu, can you say that? When do I always feel drowsy?
When do I always feel drowsy?
Okay. What is the answer, Pachu?
I always feel drowsy after a big lunch.
Okay. And Alex, when do I always feel drowsy? What is the answer?
I always feel drowsy after a big lunch.
Okay. Pachu, what is a harness?
Mm, harness. I
A har-
forget it.
Oh,
The
that's okay.
meaning.
That's okay. I'm going to show you a picture. Okay. Do you know, Alex? Do you know what a harness is?
Just 1 second. The engineers worked hard to harness the wind. Harness improve or
Look at the picture on the video. Can you see the picture on the video?
Yes.
no, but I
A harness.
no.
The harness is the way that you control a horse.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
So you see all
yeah,
of
yeah.
the different things that you put on the horse. Now you can make the horse turn this way. You can make the horse turn to the right. You can make the
Yeah,
horse turn to the left. You can make the horse go straight.
yeah.
Right. So
Yes.
harness kind of means like control energy, control something,
Yes.
to use the energy of something else. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You cannot control the horse unless you have a harness. Do you understand? Is that pretty clear?
Ye-
Okay.
Yes
Yes.
means
Yeah, it does.
uh,
Yeah.
things or activities which control the motion of horse.
Uh,
Well,
mhm.
let's look at the example. Okay. The engineers worked hard to harness the power of wind for electricity. So normally the wind is just blowing and you cannot use it for electricity. You have to make a special thing to convert it to electricity. So this is like the wind is wild like a horse, and then you make a windmill or something to take the energy
Yes.
and change it into to take the wind and change it into energy. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's kind
Yes.
of
Now clear.
complicated, but it's actually a very useful term. It's used all the time. Do you understand,
Yeah.
Alex? No? Alex, are you there? We've got bad connections tonight. Pacho, are you there? Is anybody there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Pacho.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, me
Oh,
too. Yeah.
okay. Alex, you're
Yes,
there?
yes.
Do you understand the idea of harness?
I don't
Harness?
know. Yeah, it's
No?
mhm. Yes.
Yes,
I
you
can
do?
hear you. Yes.
No, but do you understand the word harness? Oh boy. Okay, Pachu, can you read the sentence? The engineers worked hard.
The
The
engineers
engineer.
worked hard. Sorry. Sorry.
Oh, I don't know. This
I
is
have I
weird.
have breaking up.
We have a very strange connection tonight for some reason. Unfortunately,
I I I don't know. I changed the to internet now. I changed it to Wi-Fi's.
that's
I
okay.
don't know. That's it.
Yeah, I'm not blaming you. I just think that we have a weird connection. That's all. Okay, Pachu, can you read number 3?
The engineers worked hard.
Mm-hmm. Okay, the engineers worked hard. Which words do you think are important in that phrase? The engineers worked hard.
Uh, hard.
Okay, only hard or any other words?
They worked hard.
Okay, what about engineers? Do you think that could be an important word?
Yes, engineers.
Okay, so maybe all 3 words. Engineers. And in that word engineers, which syllable has all of the sound? Engineers.
Engine.
That would be
Engineers.
and
Nears.
nears. That's right. It's nears. Nears
Nears.
is the word with all the sound. Okay, and also worked. Okay,
Yes. Yes.
so how would you say this? How would you say all of these words together?
So the engineers worked hard.
The engineers worked hard.
The engineers worked hard.
Mm-hmm. Alex, can you say that? The engineers worked hard.
The engineers worked hard
What are the next 4 words, Alex?
to harness the power
And which words are important in that
of
phrase?
to harness the
Har-
power.
Okay. Harness and power.
Yeah.
And which in the word harness, which syllable has all of the attention?
Har harness
Harness.
ness
Harness. Okay. How about with power? Which syllable has all of the power? Power.
power hour, yeah.
Pow. Pow.
Power
Pow.
hour, yeah. Power
So it sounds like this: to harness the power.
to harness the power. Yeah.
How would you add the words of the?
Of the
To harness the power of the.
of the of the
Can
of
you
the yeah.
say to harness the power of the?
To harness the power of the
Pachu, can you say that? To harness the power of the.
To harness the power of the.
The engineers worked hard to harness the power of the.
The engineers worked hard to harness the power of.
Okay, to harness the power of the. And the final 3 words, wind for electricity. Which words are important, Pachu?
Yes, the wind and the electricity.
Okay. So in that word electricity, which syllable, that's a pretty long word, which syllable has all of the sound? Electricity, electricity, electricity.
Electricity.
Mm-hmm.
Electricity.
Electricity.
See?
Tri,
Elect.
tri, tri. Electricity. You hear that?
Yes.
Electricity. That's very important.
Electricity.
Yeah, it's very important to identify. That's a very big problem for pronunciation, understanding which syllable has all of the power. Electricity.
Y- Yes, but yeah, uh, I think lack of knowledge, we do not care which syllable we have
Yeah,
is
but that's
true.
a problem because actually, if you were very careless about that, it would be very difficult for people to understand what you're saying. It's a very important thing for pronunciation. Which syllable has all
Yes.
of the sound? Electricity.
Electricity.
The engineers worked hard to harness the power of the electricity, to harness the power of wind for electricity.
The engineers worked hard to harness the power of the wind for electricity.
Alex, can you say the wind for electricity?
The wind for electricity.
Harness the power of the wind for electricity.
Harness the power of the wind for electricity.
The engineers worked hard to harness the power of the wind for electricity.
The engineers worked hard to harness the power of wind for electricity.
Okay, great. Now, so what we'll do, we'll just give all of our big sounds high tones,
Okay.
except for the final one, which will be low.
Electricity. Okay.
Because it's the end of a phrase. So
Okay.
let's see. How
The
does
engineer.
Go ahead.
The engineer. Okay. Sorry. There is something with the connection.
The engineers worked hard to harness the power of the wind for electricity.
The engineers worked hard to harness the power of wind for electricity.
Mm-hmm. Pachu, can you say that? The engineers worked hard to harness the power of the wind for electricity.
The engineers worked hard to harness the power of the wind for electricity.
Pachu, can you make a. Oh, wait, you did the last question, right? Let's make Alex do the question. Alex, can you make a why engineers work hard question?
Okay. Why did the engineers work hard?
Oh, can you do that again?
Uh,
I think I heard a mistake.
so why did the engineer work hard?
Okay. Why did the engineers work hard? Again?
Why did the engineers work hard?
Okay. And what is your most important word in that phrase?
Why? Why?
Why? Why? Can you say why plus did plus the?
Why did the?
Why did
Why
the?
did the?
Why did the? Why did the engineers work hard?
Why did the engineers work hard? Work hard. Yeah.
Why did the engineers work hard?
Why did the engineers work hard?
Pachu, can you say that question? Why did the engineers work hard?
Why did the engineers work hard?
Okay, you made a mistake when you asked that question, Pachu. Can you ask it again?
Why did the engineers work hard?
Why did the engineers work hard?
Why did the engineers work hard?
Okay, and what is the answer to that question?
The engineers worked hard to harness the power of the wind for electricity.
Alex, why did the engineers work hard?
Engineers worked hard to harness the power of the wind for the electricity.
Okay, all right, we've got one more word for tonight, and that is the word replenish. Replenish. Pachu, have you seen that word before? Replenish.
Yes, but I do not use correctly. I know words
Hmm.
many people use.
Is that a word that you use in your work?
Yes, many people say, but I actually do not use, yeah, because of lack of meaning is not clear for
Oh,
me.
it means like replacing. Replace. So, if you use a lot of something, then you have to replace it to the original level.
Okay.
Like do you remember how they use it at your work? In what situation?
Yeah, I think Actually, in presentation, many people use, when he gives presentation.
But so are they using it to talk about replacing something that you used? I'm just like
Yes,
they use materials. I don't know what kind of materials. Maybe some kind of uh, food ingredient because I know you work with food.
yeah,
Like
yes,
what? What is something
flour,
that you have to replace?
the wheat flour,
The wheat flour. So
yeah,
if the wheat flour, if you have like one container of wheat flour, when it gets very low, you have to fill it again,
yes.
and that's replenished, like replace the original amount.
Okay, okay, okay. Oh, yes, got it.
Alex, do you
Yeah,
know that word? Have you seen that word before?
Yes,
Yes.
replenish, refill or stock up,
Yeah,
to
like
refill something
restock.
or stock up.
Those are other good words. Restock, return, something like
Mm.
that. Do you know the
Mm.
word pantry, Alex? Have you seen that word before? Pantry?
For her pantry. I saw that word before a few times,
Hmm.
but I can't remember. Pantry is like a party or
No, no.
I can't remember, but
That's
I saw
okay.
pantry.
Pachu, do you know that word pantry? Have you seen that before?
no,
Okay. A
no idea.
pantry is a place, it's usually in your kitchen, and it's where you keep the ingredients of food. So, pantry could be like a cabinet, or it could be a room where you keep the ingredients
Yeah,
for food, for making food.
okay. Mm.
Yes,
Stock room, yeah.
yeah,
Stock room, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe in your pantry you keep flour and spices
Mm.
and rice, all the ingredients for making food.
That
yes, we
we
have.
it's like a storeroom, yeah, for the
Yeah,
for your ingredients, yeah.
it's a storeroom for your kitchen. But the thing that the
Uh-huh.
but the thing about a pantry is where you keep food, not because a storeroom maybe you could keep a broom and a mop or who knows what
Yeah,
else. But a pantry is always
yeah.
about food.
Food, yeah.
Oh, yes,
Does that make sense? Is that pretty
Mm-hmm.
clear?
yes, yes.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Pachu, can you let me change back to Pachu, can you read our example sentence? What does it say? She went
So
shopping.
she went shopping to replenish her pantry.
What does that mean?
So maybe she went market
Mm-hmm.
uh, and re- replaced some food items
Mm-hmm.
after buying it.
Yeah. Yeah. Alex, do you understand that sentence? Is it pretty clear what the meaning is?
She went shopping to just refill her stock or to replace what she used.
Yeah, refill is another good word. Refill.
Mm.
Refill, replenish, restock, replace. It's something like that. Okay. Uh, Pachu, the first three words. Can you say the first three words? She went shopping.
She went shopping,
Okay. Which words do you think are pretty important in those first three words?
shopping.
Shopping. So, and
Yes,
where is the accented syllable? She went shopping. Where's the accented syllable?
just shop,
Shop,
shop.
shop, shop. Okay. So, how will you say these three words together?
So she went shopping.
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 Alex, can you say that? She went shopping.
She went to shopping
Okay. Alex, can you read the next four words?
to replenish. Her pantry.
Okay, which words do you think are important in that phrase? To replenish or pantry?
Replenish and pantry as well.
Replenish and pantry. Okay. And in that word replenish, which syllable has all of the force?
Plenish.
Plan.
Replenish.
Plan. Replenish. Just plan. Just plan.
Plenish.
How about
Yeah.
in pantry? Which syllable has all of the force?
Pantry.
Pantry.
Uh,
Pantry. To replenish your pantry.
To replenish her pantry. Yeah.
She went shopping to replenish her pantry.
She went shopping to replenish her pantry.
Pachu, can you say that? She went shopping to replenish her pantry.
She went shopping to replenish her pantry.
Okay. Pachu, can you make a why she go shopping question?
Why did she go shopping?
Okay. And what is your most important word in your question?
So why?
How will you
Why?
say why plus did plus she?
Why did she?
Why did she? Why did she? Why did she?
Why did she?
Why
Why
did she
did she?
go?
Why did she go?
Why did she go shopping?
Why did she go shopping?
Mm-hmm. Alex, can you say that? Why did she go shopping?
Why did she go shopping?
Why did she go shopping? What is the answer, Alex?
Why did she went shopping to replenish her pantry?
She went shopping to replenish her pantry. Pachu, why did she go shopping?
Sorry.
That's okay, sorry. I think we have a bad connection today. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah.
Try one more time.
She went shopping to replenish her pantry.
Okay, Pachu, why did she go shopping?
She went shopping to replenish her pantry.
All right. Okay, so I think that's it for today. And
Thank you
so
so much. Sir.
tomorrow, in about, in about 9 hours, I'll be doing another chapter for Gone with the Wind. And then at this time tomorrow, as we talked about, we're going to try that experiment. So if I could see if I could see both of you at the same time tomorrow as today,
Sure.
that would be. I need you from the beginning because we're just going to start reading from the beginning. Okay.
Please, God, yeah, we'll be with you.
Okay. All right, Pachu.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Well, thank you for participating, and thank you everybody for watching, and thank you for your questions and comments. And I hope to see you again tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Please, God. Thank you.
Goodbye.
bye bye.
Bye bye.